Welcome to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I'm your host, Reanna Hoffman, and this is a space for women learning to wait well and live fully. Whether you're in the middle of uncertainty, transition, or just figuring out what's next, this podcast is here to remind you you are not behind, not forgotten, and definitely not just waiting. Let's dig into truth, grow in courage, and hold on to hope together. Hey friends, welcome back to the Not Just Waiting podcast. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Rachel Sweatt, a Christian author, speaker, and coach who's deeply passionate about God, His Word, and sharing the good news with great joy. Rachel loves equipping others to live with a biblical mindset, experience the fullness of God, and invite Him to transform every area of their lives with gospel-centered purpose. Joy is truly her jam, and she believes the gospel is for everyone, right here, right now, and in every season. When she's not writing, teaching, or creating something new, you'll find her soaking up the sun, hunting down the best tacos, and spending time with her family. This conversation is full of hope, truth, and encouragement for wherever you find yourself today. Let's dive in. Hey friends, welcome back to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I am so glad that you guys are here, and I get to introduce you to another one of my really cool friends. This is Rachel. We met at coaching retreat in December, and she got to sit at my table, and I'm like, oh, she's so cute. She's got her life together. And she quickly told me that she didn't. But then I asked all of the things. So, Rachel, you're amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do, like a snapshot of your day-to-day life?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for the encouragement and the invitation to be here. And it was such a God thing to get to sit at your table. Do not 100% have my life together. And if anything good you see, it is just the grace of the Lord. So thanks for seeing Him in me. But yeah, so it's a tiny snapshot of what I do. I love words and scripture and sharing the gospel and people, and that I put all of those things together in a lot of different ways. So basically, I am writing. I love to teach. I love to speak. I love to coach people on just calling, and I do a lot of strategy coaching, biblical mindset coaching, that kind of stuff. So yeah, just any way that I can talk about the gospel and help people engage with God and His Word in their everyday life and every single season, like that's where I'm hanging out. So.
Oh, absolutely love that. That is my favorite thing ever, and that is what I aspire to get to do forever and ever. Amen. I
Whoa.
don't know if you know this, we are doing a Becoming series here on the Not Just Waiting podcast. A lot of times we talk about waiting and how everyone's waiting, whether they're single, married, waiting on a small person, or they're just 85 and waiting on Jesus. Granted, we're all waiting on Jesus, but some of us are waiting on Jesus a little more fervently. So we're all waiting for something, whether we are empty nesters and are just waiting for what the next right step is, because we've raised small people our entire lives and now we have nothing to do. What are we supposed to do? We've done the same thing for the past 18 years. Some of you guys listening are feeling what I just said. So we talk about waiting, but in those waiting seasons, we often forget that the space that we're waiting is our becoming season. That's where God's forming His character in us so that we can hold what He has next for us. So with that in mind, I have a couple questions for you. So my first question is, who do you sense God has been forming you into this season, especially in ways that weren't visible or celebrated?
That's such a good question. I love the questions that you ask on your podcast. They're really great. So if I think about who, oh gosh, man, who am I becoming in the seasons where like that's not maybe external? Hopefully, like ultimately, I am becoming made more like Christ, right? Like He is doing the pruning work. There was a quote, and I cannot remember who said it. I want to say it might be A.W. Tozer, but there's a quote that has stuck with me for many years now, and it's basically like letting the cross do its deadly work in us, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the seasons that you're talking about. It's the seasons when like things aren't going the way that we expected, and when there's being a refining process, and that is always a part of waiting. It's refining. It's, dying to the things of ourselves and inviting the things of God to just have full reign. Surrendering, like our flesh surrendering to the Spirit. And so when I think about, gosh, who am I becoming in these seasons of waiting? Over and over and over again, I feel like I feel like we're all, like you said, we're all in waiting in some capacity in literally every season. I'm a huge believer, like one of the biggest pieces of my work is really equipping people to see like, hey, you can experience God and the abundant life he has for you in the season that you're in. And whenever we start to feel like we are not experiencing the abundance that he has, that means that the enemy is prowling. And that is, he's going after the way that we're looking at our circumstances, the way that we're looking at God, our role in God's story. It's like John 10:10, Jesus came to give us life abundantly, but the enemy, he's waiting to kill, steal, and destroy. And I think he does that in the way that we experience our seasons. And so if we can go on the offensive and be like, hey, the Lord is here. He is here now. He has abundance here for me now. And we guard our minds and our hearts, then the enemy, that like he has no room to take some ground there. Um, so when I look at my own personal life in seasons of waiting, more and more ever, like I'm becoming a person who trusts. That's the short answer of this. I'm becoming a person who trusts God. Um, Living open-handed has been a big thing, and I kinda describe it as, like, I feel like you start your life, like, with, white knuckles and clenched fists, like, "This is the way I want things to go." But the more that you live your life, the more that the Lord kindly invites us to just open those hands. And I think that it is not a coincidence that, like, when we have knuckles and they're closed and then we open them, our palms are up.
Uh-huh.
And I think that that is a spiritual posture, um, and I think it's a spiritual discipline, and I think it produces spiritual fruit, and I think it makes us become people who trust God. So, yeah, I hope that answers your questions. I feel like I am becoming someone I am like growing my trust muscle when I am in seasons of waiting. Like that's what I'm doing. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I have a follow-up question. So
yes.
you were talking about living in abundance and building your trust muscle. Do you have any practical tips on how to actually do that?
Oh my gosh, I do. I do not because I'm like, oh, I have all these great ideas. No, that's not how it works. Like you live through it, right? And the Lord redeems it and restores it. And then it's like, this was so life transforming. Like this is I want everyone to like use what the Lord has done, you know. Um so a couple of things that are really helpful when you feel like you are in a trusting season and you're wanting to go from like white knuckling your life to like open-handed living is like physically have moments where you open your hands. Like if you are feeling like, man, I am wanting to control the situation, or I am maybe experiencing some anxiety about a situation, like literally, if you're sitting down, like just under your desk or under the table, whatever, just open your hands and practice saying, like, I trust you. I trust you in every prayer when you wake up or when you're praying before a meal or if you're praying at church, end your prayer with, I trust you, God. We trust you. What that's going to do to your brain is it's signaling, like, hey, we're making new neural pathways. I'm huge on like God, the way that God designed us is it's literally brilliant. Like when we look at our brains are designed to repair and restore and renew themselves because he knew like we would be walking through some stuff. And I think that is so kind of him to say like, "Hey, because this is a broken world, these things are going to happen, but like I'm not leaving you in that state. Like there's opportunities for you to not live in fear. You don't have to keep living in anxiety. You don't have to keep living in this stuff. But the more that we tell ourselves, like, hey, I'm choosing to trust God, this is a choice, that really rewires the actual chemistry in our brain so that we actually believe it and then live from that. It's not where you like, oh, I believe it and then I say it. A lot of times we are telling our spirit, hey, this is what we're choosing to believe. All over and over in Psalms, David is like, hey, bless the Lord. I'm telling the Lord to like bless my soul. Like this is this is our choice, it's our choice of how we're seeing our circumstances in light of how we see God, not the other way around. It's not our circumstances shaping our view of God. It's God shaping our view of our circumstances. And so that's one huge tangible way. Another way is I'm big on like phrases again because I think like when you are not sure or you feel like you don't have a lot of clarity, this is why I'm big on like getting clarity. Um, when you have phrases that you can say that are true, it it's invigorating because you're not sitting there wondering like what do I feel about this, right? You've predetermined it. And then when you speak it, it brings this resolute energy kind of back into your heart. So one thing that I've been saying, there are some circumstances in my life that are like very much up in the air right now. Very much up in the air. Some things that have recently changed and some things that I feel like are in the process of changing. Um, and something that God has been like, I just keep hearing in my spirit is it's all the Lord's. It's all the Lord's. It's all the Lord's. And that has helped me feel open-handed in my spirit. So the first one's more of a physical, like, just open your hands physically and say, like, "I trust you." This one is kind of a spiritual thing of saying, like, "It's all the Lord's." And that kinda makes I feel like my heart is now open-handed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I had my friend, I was like, this feels like this keeps coming up in my life, like, I want to know kind of what I want to know what that is in Latin because 'cause I'm a word girl. I was like, I feel like that would be such a cool phrase, like, I feel like this is kind of a metaphor for my life right now. Really, honestly, for the last 15 years of my life. Even before that, probably. But especially when I'm thinking about seasons of, like, God just working out things, it's all the Lord's. And the freedom and abundance that has brought to my life has just shaped who I am today. And so I was like, it'd be so cool to know, like, what is that in Latin? And so we looked it up. I'm gonna try to say it right. It's Domini est. Domini est. It's all the Lord's. And if someone knows Latin out there and I'm wrong, you can email Rihanna and she can correct me. But um anyways, I Domini est. That has been like kind of like a breath prayer. So it's just it's all the Lord. It's all the Lord. Domini est. Like I'm thinking about it when I'm going to sleep, when I'm waking up. If something's changing, I'm actively saying it's all the Lord's. So
Mhm.
does that make sense? Um,
Yes.
that's been really tangible for me. Like I'm big on like what are the tangible things, but really aligning my spirit and saying like this is the Lord's. So whether the Lord is giving or the Lord is taking away or the Lord is preparing or the Lord is restoring or the Lord is shifting, like it's all the Lord's. And because of that, because I trust his character, even when I don't understand his moves, that leaves me in a place of peace and of like, okay, I can wait it out because it's the Lord's and he's going to work all things together for the good of those who love him. So
Yes.
yeah, that's,
That was, like, so good. I needed that mini sermon is what I need I needed that because it was it's such a practical thing. You're not telling me to go run 10 miles. You're not
nope,
telling me to only eat leafy greens.
I
You're
will not
not
be that.
telling
Mm.
you're not telling me to do these crazy things. You're telling me to remind myself what I know about the Lord.
Mhm,
Because a lot of times your brain is your worst enemy, at least in my own case, because I can spiral into the, "Well, then this, and then but the Lord's not gonna love me until I do this," which is, like, completely untrue, totally
uh-huh,
unbiblical.
100%.
And you're saying, "Just say it's all the Lord's," and you have written that so far in your head that that's your first response.
Mhm.
Now that may
Yeah.
not be what your heart says first, but your head says it first, so then your heart believes it.
It's so yeah,
I
it
love
is.
that.
And don't be like I wanna give like a don't be like it will feel clunky at first because it's not normal. It's like not your default, right? But the more it becomes your response, the more like normal it feels, and so like when you say like it's all the Lord's, well, you may feel silly or you may feel like that doesn't change anything for me right now. That's okay. That's because it's part of the process. Like you're not down the path yet. Like you haven't that's not a well-worn path, but it doesn't get to be a well-worn path unless you go around it and ride it and ride it over and over again. So really keep leaning in and saying that. And you're right. Like it's not, our heart usually doesn't feel it first. Our heart is actually can be very misleading, because we're human, but what we do get to do is love the Lord our God with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength. And this is just one of many ways we can practice that has really like transformed my life. When I realized, when he convicted me, it all comes out of conviction. Like I said, this is not because I like woke up one day and I was like, oh, these are good things to meditate on. Like it was out of desperation and the Holy Spirit revealing these truths to me. And it's like, hey, like I want to be a vessel for the Lord. I want to be someone who has a heart after God, who hunger and thirst for righteousness. And out of these things, the Holy Spirit was like, okay, it's the Lord's. Period.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Okay, I don't know what to do with that, but I'm gonna keep repeating it. It's the Lord's." And over the course of, like, months, that is how I've gotten to this place of, like, really my natural response, like, something shifted really pretty big in my life. 2 things shifted really big in my life this week. This is not a coincidence that we're talking this week, and literally my response, one of them felt more positive and one of them felt more, like, not so awesome. But with both of those, I wasn't, like, rattled. I was just like, "It's the Lord's." It's the Lord's. So, I hope it helps somebody.
That was amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. For
Yeah,
real.
thank you for having me.
I have another question for you. So,
Yes.
was there a season where God seemed more focused on shaping your character than advancing your calling? And what did that form in you?
Oh my gosh. This is such a it's not a I was gonna say it's a fun question. It's not a fun question because that's not a fun circumstance, but it's like when you're like, "Oh, man, I want" if you're, like, looking forward to something, but, that's kind of I mean, isn't that the story of our lives, right? He's more concerned about who we are than what we're doing, and I love that about him. So, for instance, there's an example of this, though. So I have been I'm a writer. I love to write Bible studies and books, and I've been working on, like, having a book deal. Like I have an incredible agent, but we are like waiting for the right partnership. I have been waiting on this specific journey for like 6 years now. No, 5 years. 5 years, and 2 of those years, my family and I unexpectedly moved across the country twice. And so the things that they were waiting on was obviously like kind of growth and, just community, like my community, like, is it, going to be a good business deal in there? Like all these things, whatever. And I was like, I don't have, again, kind of before I knew that's how I was living, like it's the Lord's. I was just like, I knew like I had to be where the Lord called me. And that was for my family. And that was present in the work that we were doing during that time. And writing was kind of just completely off the table. I didn't work on growing anything. I didn't work on putting out new content. I love those things and I was excited to get back to those things. But this is the grace of God. I did not have any, I call it fake pressure. I didn't have any fake pressure about like, I got to perform, I got to produce, I have got to do this. Even though like there are people saying like, hey, we'd love to work with you, but things just need to be a little bit more developed or whatever. And I'm like, I get that. That's fine. And whenever they said that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna, have all these goals and work towards these things. And and by the year I'll, have this many whatever people I can be like, hey, this many people, I serve this many people. So I think like at least some of them might hopefully buy something. Not at all like just out of a numbers thing. My agent is great. He's like, I hate that. But it's about the heart of like, who are you serving? So that I can get behind that. Like I get that. That makes sense. So when we said that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna work hard on all these things. And then we ended up moving across the country twice in 2 years and touched nothing. Touched nothing. And it's the grace of God because I have friends praying for me every week, like, hey, is there any news? Like they're praying for my work and my ministry because they just believe in what the Lord is doing in me, which is super humbling. And I just say I had kept telling them like week after week, like, not yet. Not yet. But I don't feel behind. Like I don't feel the fake pressure of like I have to do these things because like what God taught me and throughout this season is whenever it's the Lord's, it really is the Lord's. And we're not behind schedule. Like we show up and we steward what he puts in front of us. And at that moment, I knew like anything that I had been like working on as a goals writer, whatever, right? Like that was not my capacity. My capacity was discipleship and my capacity was for faithfulness. And that was it. you know? Um, So I think like seasonal living is huge to me and like what is God asking you to do in that season? And even though those were things I wanted to do, those were not things he was asking me to do. And knowing that really brought a lot of freedom to my life. Even though I'm like, people are like, it's amazing to even have people on your team be like, hey, we'd love to work with you whenever these things kind of line up. Um, and then so to have that opportunity and then to be like, okay, well, it's not time to work on that yet.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't make sense worldly in the worldly sense, but because I was so sure, like God was like, "He put this in my heart. I don't have to I don't have to control how it shakes out." And there was wrestling in that. It wasn't like like was I tempted sometimes to be like, "Oh man, I feel anxious because I'm not doing these things." Sometimes I would, but then I would have to remind myself like that's out of my capacity. It's on the shelf. It's not like out of my life, but it's on the shelf. Um, so yeah, that's a good example of how that kind of happens. But in the middle of that, like I said, God brought so much freedom into my life. And I think that's how he's just continued to refine that John 10:10. Like this is the abundant life he has for us in every single season. Even when we're waiting, even whenever things are not like going to plan, because when do they ever? You know? So why not just be like, "Okay, It's the Lord's, and I'm going to resist the fake pressure that the enemy might be putting on me, because the second that we accept that fake pressure from him, the blessing of the work or whatever it is that God is calling us to do, that we do feel like he is like, hey, this is what I'm made to do. When that Whenever we engage in that through the lens of that like fake pressure, like I have to make this happen, then it's not a blessing anymore. Then it's a burden. And that's where the enemy has came and he has stolen the joy of it. And I don't want that. So it's like, I will wait. I will wait, and I want it to stay a blessing, you know? So
That's a
anyways,
really good
that's
word.
where I'm at right now.
I love that. That's amazing because, like, I think all of us in some shape, fashion, or form have been in that space where there's things that we could do, but the Lord's not asking us to do them yet. And that's a
Mhm.
really hard place to be in because then you're having to discern, like, Lord, what do you want me to do now? I
Mhm.
thought you wanted me to do this thing, and then you said stop or pause. So, like,
That's
where
it.
do I go next? Mm,
Mhm. Yeah. It's
wild.
wild. It's an adventure. It's very humbling. But when you live like, I don't have anything to prove, and I'm gonna say yes, and I want to have a ready and willing spirit as the Lord leads me. It literally is like step by step. When he opens a door for this, you take the step. When there's not a step, you wait on the step, you know? Like, I don't want to be building my own steps because I am a bad carpenter. Like, that is not my skill set. I'm not going to walk on this staircase that I built. I'm not going to live in a house that I built. So why would I take steps that the Lord has not built for me? Um, I'm so faulty. And I'm, and just in my humanness, like, I would that yeah, better not. Just wait it out.
Mhm. And that's so true. Like, what you said, like, I would never live in a house that I built, because
Mm,
that's not my skill set. That's the Lord's skill set right now for my life, and I should trust him in what he's doing in my life because he's much better at it than I am. I
yeah.
mean, I might could build a rinky dinky shack that might hold a shovel and a
Mhm.
couple of shelves, and the shelves might accidentally be holding up the top, but that's definitely not my skill set, and that, I think, is a testament to, like, what we can build versus what he's building in us
Mhm.
versus,
Yeah.
like, giant grandiose house to tiny little shack. Like, if we trust that the Lord's gonna give us abundantly what he has promised in the Bible, then if we trust him, like we're rewiring our brain to do, he will provide because he is faithful. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so good.
Yeah. Amen.
What have you had to release, whether that's expectations, timelines, your identity, in order to become who God is inviting you to be now?
I think for sure timeline, and expectations. I think I don't know. I kind of have a weird view on expectations. So for sure timelines. Again, like I said, I felt like with all of these things, and even like before we made our cross country moves in the town we were in, we loved it. We still love the town, still love the people there. And I was like, I'm gonna die here. And then a year later, I was not there. Like just releasing, like, hey, that was fake pressure on that season. And I think that's where God began to teach me, like, hey, what am I asking you to do now? Like, you can't plan for fake seasons in the future. You may not even be there. Not to be morbid, but like that's a ridiculous way to spend energy, and that really brought so much freedom. Like, it shifted the way that we live, it shifted the way that we look at jobs, shifted the way that we look at, like, schooling for our kids. Like, what is God asking our family who is he asking our family to be right now, and what choices can we make that align with that? And then there's freedom to change when the season changes, and that has brought so much health, I think, to me personally and to our family unit. So that's been huge. Just the timeline of like, I'm not planning for a future season. Like, what feels aligned with God's heart and his will and his wisdom right now. So that's that answer, for sure. And then again, saying like, not having any fake pressure about what doesn't belong in this season. Now there are some things where I'm like, I am working towards those goals in different capacity because my season is different now, but I'm still not like, that's not like my only thing. So seasonally, what can I do right now? I might can do a little bit more, but it still might not be all that I want to do, you know. But what I am doing feels abundant because it's not like I'm not forcing it. Um, I like to describe that kind of as like you're wearing pants that are like a little too tight. Like, you can make it work, but it's not comfortable. Like, it's not a comfortable way to live. Like, no, like live in the capacity that God has for you in this season, and that just you can like actually enjoy your life. You know, experience the abundance He has for you. The other side of this that I was gonna just mention briefly on expectations is I feel like because we are followers of Jesus, because we have our hope in God, we should have the highest hopes, right? Like we should be people that's like, I am expectant for God to move. I'm expectant for God to bear fruit. Where I think the enemy comes in to kill, steal, and destroy that is when we try to control how those things happen. So, yeah, yeah. And I'm saying, like, again, from personal experience, this is not like revelation without suffering, right? So I feel like I don't ever want to be like, I don't have expectations. No, we should. We should have hopes. People who follow Jesus should have the most like over the top dreams and hopes for what God might do because we have access to God, right? Who is out of this world. Like he's not limited. He doesn't have a ceiling. And so and it's not like I need to adjust my expectations. No, like keep your hopes high. Keep your hopes high. Expect God to be faithful. Expect God to bear fruit because that's his job, right? It's our job to be obedient and it's his job to bear fruit. But totally surrender what that looks like. So have expectations, have the highest hopes because we are a people of hope. More than anyone else, we should be set apart by our hope, right? Um, but it's our confidence in God to work those things out that allow us to have the joy in the waiting or the joy in the process and to not control it, right? Our confidence is in ourselves to bring it out. We want to, like, we're humbled that God invites us even to be part of that. Um, and it's that like obedience as he reveals it. But we don't need to have fake pressure about how that happens because that's the Lord's, you know? It just it's the thread in my life, but that's what I keep saying, like, have the expectations, have the hopes because God put them there for a reason, but resist the temptation to control how it happens. So,
Yeah. Mm, so good. That control piece is what gets us in trouble every time.
every time,
Every
every time.
every time. Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we talk about here on Not Just Waiting a lot is active waiting versus passive waiting. Rihanna's version of passive waiting is sitting on her couch, eating peanut butter cookies and watching movies. There is a time and a place. I
Yeah.
should not be doing that every day for an entire month because then I'm going to turn into a peanut butter cookie. And that would be a very sad way to live. We know active waiting is not necessarily literally sitting and waiting, but it's doing something while you're waiting. So, in this season, how are you waiting well?
Mm, I love that question. So I feel like again, like something that God has taught me is just like if you are experiencing God in your circumstances, that changes how you are waiting. You know, it changes the way that you're seeing your circumstances. It changes the way that it feels like, yes, like you're waiting on him to work things out. But you're not missing his presence while you're waiting for the promises to be fulfilled. You know, and I can't shake this. So I've been in Psalm 84 since December and I keep reading it. I read it once a day. I'm trying to memorize it, and I cannot shake the just the it's because I have this, like, crazy long you talked about, like, people longing for Jesus, like, I am aching to just dwell in the presence of the Lord. Like, it is like, it's like craving, and I feel like Psalms 84, I remembered a verse from there, I was like, "That kind of feels like what I feel like." So then I read the whole chapter, and I was like, "I need this in my bones." So I've just been trying to memorize it, and, there's a verse that says, like there's a verse that says, "For a day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of the Lord than dwell in the tents of the wicked." Like, I just want to be somewhere where he is. I don't care where. I don't care what it's looking like. I just wanna be where he is. I just wanna linger in his presence, and that is how I'm like, "That's what I'm doing." Like, that's what I want to do, whether I'm, like, in these things that I'm kind of waiting on. Like, because, like I said, there are lots of things up in the air, and I feel like for everyone listening, there are probably some things up in the air for you. But I wanna encourage you, like, just get as close to Jesus as you can and linger there because that is where I've been waiting. That's how I've been waiting. over the last couple of years, but especially the last couple of seasons of my life is I just like am craving the presence of God. And when you linger in the presence of God, it really shapes the how you're waiting, but also it is like the antidote for control because we're not at all concerned with our circumstances necessarily anymore. We're just concerned about the presence of the Lord. Like I just want to be where you are. And that's when our energy is going there, and that is like a life-giving energy, right? So, like, that means, hey, we're giving that energy, but also God is, like, using that to renew us for while we wait. Because if we're just waiting and spinning our wheels and thinking about all the what ifs and thinking about all the unknowns, like, you will die of exhaustion, or you won't be able to enjoy I think that's where the enemy comes in to steal the abundance of the season. Like, if you are exhausted because of your unknowns, like, our attention and our energy is going to the wrong thing. It's going to what's unknown instead of what we do know. Like, we know that we can trust the Lord to be faithful. We know that God is good. Regardless of what he does for us, do we want to just hold open a door in his house? Like, that is worth more to me than writing 1,000 books. Like, I just want to be in the house of the Lord. I do want to bring as many people with me as possible. Like, that's part of who he made me to be. Like, I want to open the door and I want to be like, hey, everybody come in. Like, that's the evangelist in me. Like, you need to know about Jesus. And because whenever your circumstances are unknown, like, and you just have him as the peace and as the anchor for your soul, it really, everything else just pales in comparison. Doesn't mean it doesn't matter, but it does mean it changes how you wait for him to work those things out. So that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm waiting right now. I am just like, I'm in it. I'm like, Jesus, I just need you. Um, daily desperation to just dwell in the presence of the Lord. And then he's like opening, oh, not, see, like revealing steps as we go through that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Did that even answer your question? I
Yes,
kind of
it
can't.
made sense. Yes, it answered my question, and now I wanna change my answer.
Oh, Jane, what is your answer? I want to know. What was painful and what is it now?
I think at first when I was in this waiting season, and you don't know very much about me, but I was a teacher and that was what I was going to do for my entire life. And then when I was 55, I was going to retire and this was what I was going to do. And then the Lord lined some crazy stuff up. Like my husband landed in my lap. When I say
Mhm.
landed in my lap, I was very much against a boy. I was like, it's going to be me and Jesus and I'm cool with that. It literally dropped in my lap. We were engaged 3 months later and married 3 months after that. And the Lord provided him because I needed someone to say, "Hey, no, this is not where you need to be going." And so when the
Mm,
Lord pulled that out from under me, it's like, "Okay, what am I doing?" And so I guess this becoming season is I'm learning that the character he's building in me right now is something that I'm going to need later. One of the things I've been looking at is the Israelites. And I laugh at the Israelites and I make jokes about the Israelites, but I'm such an Israelite. And
mhm.
when the Lord delivers them into the promised land, it could have taken them 2 weeks if they had just listened and quit complaining and just did what the Lord asked them to do.
Yeah.
But then they
Yeah.
had to wander for 40 years and I think a couple of generations didn't even get to enter the promised land because they were unwilling to listen to what the Lord had for them. And I'm like, "Lord, don't let me be an Israelite. Don't let
Mhm.
me miss out what you have for me right now because I'm trying to hold on to that control piece that you're talking about." When you said that sitting in the presence of the Lord was the antidote to control, my brain went, I need to be sitting in the presence of the Lord more because
Mm,
there are days that I'm like, okay, let me listen because I'm not quite back to a season that I can sit and read without being distracted, but I can listen without being
mhm.
distracted. I'm like, I instead of throwing on a podcast, I'm gonna need to throw in scripture a little bit more because if that's the antidote, I want it, and I want it
Mhm.
like now because that
You
control
can
piece
have
is
it now. You can have it
exactly.
now.
'Cause
Yeah.
that control piece is one of those things for me that I'm a planner, and since COVID, I kinda laugh because I have not been able to plan more than a week in advance. I mean, there's a couple of things that I can plan, but I, like, have not ever been comfortable I used to plan 6 months in advance. Like, I could tell you what I was doing in August right now. But I can't tell you what I'm doing next week because I'm trying to have that open hand piece of, "Lord, what are you gonna get? What do you have for me to do?" And so, in this waiting season right now, as of this date, I am trying to figure out how to listen better to the Lord so that I can become who He wants me to be, so that I can hold the things that He has for me. Like, that's
Mm,
what my answer is to that question,
mm.
which is wild.
I love that. Yeah,
Wild, wild.
that's
Eh,
beautiful, friend.
thank you. Anyway, I wanna sit and talk to you for 4 more hours, but I'm not
I
gonna
was
do that for our listeners. So, is there anything else you wanna tell our listeners before we hop off?
um, so I feel like, honestly, again, I think just keep your eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, and remembering that it was his joy to do what the Lord had for him, and there was great waiting in that, and there was great suffering in that. But that's the gospel, is that even in that, like, like, God provides through that, and He's so near, and get desperately hungry for the presence of the Lord more than, like, the answers to your circumstances or more than the promises being fulfilled, and He will answer those promises in ways that are far better than you could have imagined, even if it honestly looks nothing like you imagined, and I feel just so encouraged by God's grace and his patience with us because we're like, this is taking forever. And he's like, I've been here since before the world began. Like, and not yeah, like that's real cute, because like your life is like a tiny blip in the scope of eternity. And we're just like, this is taking forever. But I don't think he does that. He says that like, I don't think that's his perspective. Like, condescendingly. I think he takes great delight in our longing to do what he made us to do, to be who he made us to be. And I think he's like, it's mine. It's mine. I got it. I've got you. I see you. I see every layer. And he is working out layers in your life and mine that we have no idea about. No idea about. Um, and we might not ever know, but we might know like in like 50 years, we'll be like, oh, I see that now, and that is so loving and kind. And so if waiting doesn't feel loving and kind right now, remember that you can trust God's character because he is loving and kind. And one day, all things will be made right and it will be better than we could have ever hoped, dreamed, prayed, or imagined. So
Mhm.
that's it.
Absolutely. I love that. Can you tell our listeners where they can connect with you outside of here?
Yes, and I'd love for them to come find me. I'm on Instagram, and Facebook at Rachel Sweatt, and I have a Substack called Life and Liberty Substack that I really love writing for right now. Yeah, that's my social media handle, and so just definitely come over, follow, and tell me, hey, I heard you on the podcast, so that way I can tell Reanna thank you. So for connecting us. But yeah, that's where I am. I share random things, but a lot of just things that God is teaching me kind of in the moment. And so that's where that goes.
Yes, I love looking at your content. I'm one of those people that like your stuff and follow you.
Thank you.
But
I appreciate
Brett,
that. I really do. It's encouraging.
I love that. Friends, I will leave her links in the show notes. So if you need to pause this, go to the show notes, click the thingies, follow and subscribe, and then come back and finish this. Because you need to be where Rachel is because she has such great wisdom and insight, and you just need to connect with her. And please, for real, go tell her thank you for jumping on the podcast because she is amazing for giving up her time and her just talent with being close to the Lord and sharing her wisdom with us. So thank you. It's been a joy and a privilege. Thank you, thank you. I cannot wait to go back and listen to this because I'm already like, I needed my notebook and I needed to take notes. So I'm gonna come back with my notebook, and friends, you might need to come back with your notebook too. But it has been a joy and a privilege, and we will see you guys next week. Bye, friends.
Bye.
Hey, friend, I want to share something that I created for those of you who are in a waiting season right now. If you're waiting on clarity, direction, healing, or a next step, and you're tired of feeling like this season is just something to get through, I made a companion resource called the Guide to Becoming. It's a scripture based reflection guide designed to help you stay rooted, honest, and present while you wait. Not to rush forward, but to help you notice who God is forming you to be right here. You can download the Guide to Becoming right now. Just check the link in our show notes. Remember, you're not behind, you're not forgotten, You are becoming. Thanks for listening to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I hope today reminded you that even in the in-between, God is working, and you are not alone. If this episode encouraged you, would you share it with a friend? And don't forget to hit follow so you never miss a moment of truth, hope, and real conversation. You can find me on Instagram at reanna.ivy.hoff and join the community over on Substack for deeper reflections and weekly encouragement. Until next time, take heart, friend. God is in the waiting with you.